So on the way over here, I called my mother because I had to get my facts straight. The thing is, what I'm going to tell you happened 41 years ago. And she, it turns out, has a different story than I do. But some of it's the same. So Clinton, Connecticut, 1982, February, cold winter day. I'm 16. I have a driver's license. My parents are dressed up. They're going to a concert. And they look at me before they leave, and they say, "You do not have permission to take the car." And I would not be telling you this story if I just stayed home. In fact, it was only 2 miles, really. It was only 2 miles away. And apparently my mother thought that well, I'll get there. But bottom line is, I took the car, and it was an AMC Hornet. I don't know if any of you have heard of that, but they don't have power steering, which is really hard, really hard. It's not a stick, but it's really hard to turn. Anyway, we'll get to that too. So I was going to Jim's house. There was a house party. There was some beer, but I didn't drink a lot. It was only 2 miles. I was going to go. I was going to have fun. And I was going to get home before my parents came home from the concert. The thing is that while I was at Jim's house, the temperature dropped. And the water that had been on the road turned into sheets of ice. And I didn't know. So on the way back from Jim's house, there were a couple of beer bottles rolling around on the floor of the car. But I had not been drinking much, but I had a few beers for sure. I hit a slick piece of ice. The car spun a 180 and slammed into a tree. And by the way, I was rushing home because I had to pee. And it was a miracle when I woke up from being knocked out that I hadn't peed my pants. I was stunned, and all I needed when I woke up was, okay, the hood was open. I saw flashlights, I heard sirens, and all I wanted to do was get into that house and pee and get back in the car and get home before my parents found me. That's all I wanted to do. But I remembered that there were beer bottles so I threw them in the woods. On the way in to pee, the couple's house that I landed on, they came out with flashlights and they brought me into the house, and they wouldn't let me use the bathroom until a cop came. And we all piled into the bathroom because they needed to watch me pee. I'm not really sure. I haven't figured this out. My mother is convinced that it was because he was afraid I was going to pass out. I'm pretty sure he thought I was trying to put drugs down the toilet, but I don't know what to say about that. The bottom line is, they took me by ambulance to a clinic. Now in 1980, I think it was 1982, there were no cell phones, obviously, and so my parents just came home and saw no car and no Catherine. And I think the police drove to our house, and informed them that I was at the clinic, and they came to find me. And apparently the entire time they're loading me into the ambulance, I'm yelling, "My mother is going to kill me!" Now, I was one of 5 kids, and the 2 older sisters had left, and it was the first time I had actually had access to one of the vehicles. And the other thing is that my parents, we didn't have a lot of money, and that was the car that my mother used to take the kids to the doctor and to go to her job. And I totaled it. And apparently I told her that, "Mom, I was really just going to bring my best friend a Valentine's Day present." And she told me that tonight, and I'm like, really? I was like, "Mom, I'm sorry, but I went to a party." She's like, "This is tonight. She's 85 years old, and she's like, "Honey, you told me you were bringing Andrea a Valentine's Day present." I'm like, wow, man, she still believes that. 41 years later. It was very harmful to my family that I did this to this car. And I worked at a grocery store, and I remember taking every check every week for a long, long time and putting them in the bank and giving my parents $800 so they could buy another car. And I'd never asked my mother this. But tonight, on the way over here, driving, I said, Mom, did you forgive me? She goes, it took a long time. But I forgive you. Thank you.